Hey, what's going on, everybody? Zach here with Brandonwound Pickups, and welcome back to part 2 of our 1965 Fender Stratocaster restoration. So quick recap, if you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and watch that first, otherwise this won't make too much sense. But this is a 1965 L-Series pre-CBS Strat in foam green, and it is supposedly not a refinish, which is awesome. But it's had a lot of modifications over the years, and we're trying to undo that. When you last left us, we were working on the pickups, and I was waiting to see what we were going to do with those. I've gotten confirmation on what we're going to do, so we're going to finish that today. We're going to take a look underneath this pick guard, which will be fun. Might change the tuners out, and I might even work on the electronics a little bit. I still don't have that volume pot yet as of today, so hopefully we'll get that soon. Yeah, let's go talk about the pickups some more. Okay, so the last thing we showed you guys was that middle pickup that was so bad. We could see all that corrosion right there. That's not good. I was looking at the neck pickup, which it looked kind of similar. I think you guys saw that. And I just made the decision. I'm not even going to bother trying to take more wire off of it. I just cut it off. Call that peeling in the pickup world. As we can see, if I can get it to focus here. See that? Right on that magnet. It's pretty bad. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to save this one either. And same thing. It's not quite as far down through the coil as this one. See, this one was really bad. But yeah, at this point, rewind on the neck. So the bridge pickup, however, did not have any of this external corrosion. I've got that in the wax pot right now. I'm gonna soften it up like I was saying yesterday. Focus back here, maybe. Ugh, what did I do? Whatever. Anyways, yeah, so that's in the wax. It's going to soften up a little bit, and I am going to take some wire off of that, see if I can get that one to read at all. Probably not, but I'd like to get a reading off of at least one of them, so we'll see. This one is, well, both of these, we need to take out the leads, clean up the rust, re-insulate the magnets, and then get these things on the winder. But I'm going to take care of the bridge pickup first, and I'll update you if anything changes with that. All right, so we have a bridge pickup update. No dice. Still had to rewind it. Still very rusty. This one was definitely in the best condition, though. You know, you don't see that outside corrosion quite as much. I did take a bunch of wire off of this. The wax trick did work. It softened up the windings and let me pull a bunch off. Got a good idea of the wind pattern from that also, so we learned something there. I definitely think these were machine wound, and that's probably what I'm going to do also. It kind of sucks. I mean, you can see I was just taking wire off forever. It's very rusty. Bummer. So we got to rewind all three, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it is, but since we have to do all three of them, we can actually kind of make it a little more balanced potentially. Because a lot of these old pickups, Strat pickups, they were kind of the same DCR for all three, or around the same. Not always, but we can take this opportunity to make them more balanced, make the bridge a little hotter, and so the guitar might even sound a little bit better. Because sometimes in a Strat, if the neck pickup is the same DCR as the bridge, the neck is generally going to be quite a bit louder. So that's not too big of a deal. I've left the leads on them so I know which one is which. Going to do them one at a time here. I do have to clean them up. Take the leads out, we'll clean up all the rust, get the magnets re-insulated, and then rewind this with 42 gauge plain enamel wire. So that's the pickups. I'll come back to you when I have these at least wound, maybe not waxed today because it's getting kind of late and it's a Sunday and I want to go home at some point. But then we're going to take a look at maybe the wiring and the tuners. I haven't decided yet, we'll see. Back here in a minute. All right, so we have the pickups all rewound. They all came out really nice. Yeah, there's our bridge pickup. Could see the plain enamel is a little bit darker in color than the old stuff. That's pretty common. Got the leads back in, which is always a pain because that hole's really tiny. We've talked about that before. These are ready to go in the wax now. So we're gonna go ahead and do that here pretty soon. The magnets on these are nice and strong. I only go 5. They all feel good. No problems there. So these pickups got a pretty good bill of health now. So we made the neck pickup about, I think it's around 5'6", 5'7". And then the neck and bridge are a little closer to 6K. I think the bridge is a little over 6K. So again, well within spec, just a little bit more balanced than it potentially could have been. It's hard to say what they were before, but they looked all pretty close together. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in the wax, and at this point, we're gonna put the guitar on the bench and start taking some stuff apart. So let's do that now. Okay, so while we're waiting for the pickups in the wax, I went ahead and took the strings off of this thing. Really nice looking fretboard. Like I said in the last video, I'm pretty sure it's been planed. You can kind of see some remnants of some divots there, but it's definitely had a little bit of work done. Loud motorcycles. More loud motorcycles. Okay, so here's our shallow tuners. We're gonna go ahead and work on swapping these out. We've got our single line Clusons here. Do they have screws? Yes, they do. That's good. But before we do that, we need to take a look underneath of here, because if you remember over here on our original pickguard, there's some curious holes. All is about to be revealed. All right, so as I said, this is my pickguard. These are my pickups. So this is a pickguard with my like 60s pickups in it. Like I said, I just had it in here kind of temporarily just to see if the guitar works. If you ever need a loaded pickguard, I can make these. I don't do it very often, but every once in a while. Put that there. Oof. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not supposed to be there. Yeah. Just, if you look right there, that's okay. Okay. And if you squint really hard, that looks fine too. It's not great. So, who knows what happened with this? Humbucker maybe? Multiple single coils? Definitely had a different pickguard on it at one point, because you can see all the different, yeah. So, there's finish work in here. Pretty much everywhere, except for up in here and back through here. That still looks good. This still looks good. All of this, while it is a similar color, is not the original color. And we can actually tell that under UV. My black light's in the other room. Maybe I'll put up a picture of that, or we'll take a look later. But you can see where they went in and tried to touch all this stuff up. Now, finish touch-ups on a custom color, that's sketchy. I'm not a big fan of that. But, you know, this was done such a long time ago. And like I said, other people have looked at the finish and they seem to think it's legitimate. So, are we going to do anything about this? No. It's not really worth it. The hole's already there. Now, the switch. See that little circle? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this circle, that line, and this line was gone at some point. So, actually, I think there's an old picture of it with like a volume pot and a toggle switch of some kind there. Then it got filled back in and painted over and who knows what else. And then I guess at some point they decided to put the original pickguard back on. It's kind of a bummer, but what are you gonna do? It was the 70s and 80s. Another thing that I found out, remember the Joe Perry signature? Well, I didn't notice that said Brad Whitford, and this is legitimate, apparently. Apparently the guy who had this actually knew them or went to school with them or something. I don't know. That's cool. Okay, ignoring that for the time being, we're going to come up here to the tuners. We're going to start taking those off and see how much of a disaster it's going to be under here. Sometimes when you install these and you waller them out real bad, it gets ugly. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these nuts off. Music Nomad, best string winder in the world, except for it doesn't have a cutter on it, which is a bummer, but it's got a thingy on it, so we could just undo that. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. All right, let's see if we can see how bad it is. It doesn't look great. That's not the roundest hole I've ever seen. Probably gonna need a conversion bushing. Let me get the rest of these off, and then we'll take a look. Well, it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's definitely been drilled and wallered out a little bit, but it's not horrible. I've definitely seen worse. Luckily, they make these little conversion bushings. So what happens when you put a Schaller or a Grover or anything like that, it's got this little collar on the bottom, and you got to drill for it because the Kluson style doesn't have that. It's kind of a bummer, but it's pretty common with these old guitars. Luckily, Stumac and a few other, I think even Glusen makes these. They sell this little conversion bushing, which will fit, hopefully, down in there. Wow, that actually fits pretty good. That's cool. So now we can run the old style Glusen tuner with our over drilled holes. You do get the kind of shadow ring from the little washers like you do with Grover, which is a bummer. That's okay. I'm actually going to take this back out. Oh gosh, okay. I'm going to do that from the back side because this guitar is hammered. The tuners are in about the same condition, which is good, at least looks wise. And these are brand shiny new. That's not going to work. So I got to age these. So I'm going to go do that now, and then we'll get these old tuners on. Okay, we got the tuners in. Oh, hold on a second. I'm just looking over towards the window. We just had a run-in with a very angry wasp or hornet that flew in the window. I think I got it. Thought I heard a noise. Anyways, the bushings came out great. They really matched the tuners. Even tried to kind of mimic some of that like speckled patina. They came out really, really good. There's nothing you could do about the rings. I kind of touched them up the best that I could. Not with paint or anything, I just kind of cleaned it pretty good. So it got rid of some of that black. And if you look at it from a distance, it's kind of okay. So let's flip the guitar back over. And there we go. You can still see the holes. You could plug those, doesn't really matter. We've talked about this before, but one way you can tell an original Glusen Deluxe tuner is it spells Deluxe all the way out to the bottom of the case. On a reissue tuner, it does not do that, or at least on most of them that I'm aware of. Come down here to my toolbox. Let's just grab these. Obviously, this is a different kind, but no, I don't want to take it out. Here we go. Can you see? It ends on U, and then the E is on the bottom side of the case. Yeah, you can tell that, and that's if you don't want to take the tuner off the guitar. If you take the tuner off and look at the bottom side of it, obviously you can tell. Okay, tuner's done. So I brought you guys into the winder room to take a look at the pickups. A little bit better lighting in here. They really came out great. See, we got a little bit of dirt on them, a little grime. They're fresh out of the wax. They came out fantastic. They're gonna sound really good now. And more importantly, they're gonna last, pretty much forever at this point. Or at least until they need rewound again, maybe in another 40 or 50 years. Okay, pickups are done, tuners are done. What's next? I think wiring, probably? I don't know, let's go take a look. Okay, gotta move fast here while I have the pick guard off. Again, I'm not totally sure if we're reusing this or not. Maybe. It's really shrunk. I mean, you can see that's the little metal plate underneath, and I would say it's probably shrunk close to a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, and these holes are shrunk up too. But let's take a look at the wiring real quick that's in it. We can see, they may not have used this pick guard for all of the shenanigans, but they have definitely used the shielding plate holes. But here's the pots, which is some good news. This and the wires look great. This and that have been replaced. This is an old DiMarzio pot. We'll get that out of there. We actually have a pot that's coming in that's very close in date to these. This is, let's see if I can get a better angle there. 304, 65, 16. We've talked about dating pots before. Sorry for the shakiness there. 304 is the manufacturer. That is stack pole. 65 is the year. And 16 is the 16th week of 1965. Both of these match. We do have a correct switch here. Thanks to my buddy Kyle at Vintage Correct Parts for supplying a lot of this stuff that we're going to be putting on here. The pot we found, I think, is the 12th week of 65 or something. It's very close to these, which is good. So that's not here yet. I don't have that, so we can't put that on. So I think we're kind of at a stopping point right now. I'm going to put this guard back on the guitar real quick, again, to kind of help keep it from shrinking. So we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're getting there. The hardest part's out of the way. That was getting the pickups all taken care of. I'll post up some pictures of how those came out too in some detail. We got the original pick guard kind of screwed back on to keep it from shrinking. We've got our single line Glusen tuners done and installed. really, we're just waiting on that pot. Once that pot comes in, we could get all this wired back up, but I don't have that yet, so we're gonna have to call it for today. After the pot comes in and the wiring and it's done and the pickups are put in, then we will shift our attention to whether we're keeping this pick guard or not, for one, and then the setup work, which I can do some setup work, but I'm actually gonna take it to a buddy of mine who's really good with fret work and all that, because that is not my field. I'm an electronics guy. And after that, we're gonna be done with this thing. I think the next part of the video is probably gonna be the last part, but this has been part 2. We got a lot accomplished. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for part 3, and we'll see you soon. 65 Fender Stratocaster restoration. Ow, son of a bitch. Damn strings.